Today on WeCan, we have Sally Miller leading with her grounded and practical advice on how to trust yourself, navigate your identity, self-doubt, and outside pressures in a world that's constantly telling you who to be and how to do things. Sally, you're an award-winning fashion designer, speaker, creative entrepreneur, and now author of your new book, Trust Yourself Anyway, Designing a Life That Fits, which will come out on May 8th. You worked for decades with girls and women in an industry built on identity, comparison, and external validation, dressing the Obama girls and Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler's and many more. And so this conversation will resonate with a lot of young women who live in this pressure and identity sort of situation, but also to all the women in all the different phases. And we have so many, and we constantly have to redefine ourselves, start new chapters, and get back to ourselves and who that is. So I'm excited to talk to you. Sally, talk to us about your work and, those lessons that you learned that you want to pass on to others.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yeah, what's really interesting, designing for young women for 30 years, the question that has come up more than any other question is, how can I feel more confident? How can I be
Mm,
more confident?
yeah.
One 11-year-old had asked me, how do you feel empowered when you don't feel confident? And that
Mm,
was really the impetus of starting this book because you can't feel empowered if you don't feel confident. And the more I, you dig deeper into confidence, it always comes down to trust.
mm,
How do you trust yourself in a world that markets to your self-doubt?
yeah.
How do you trust yourself? And that really is the one most important thing you can possibly do, because without trusting your voice, your intuition, and being able to even listen to it in such a noisy world, how can you possibly grow or understand who you are or have that impetus to take risks and be creative? And so that's really where it starts. That's really where it starts. And so the question then is, how can I trust myself more?
Mm. Sally, so talk to us about this book, Trust Yourself Anyway, Designing a Life That Fits. What do you communicate and what do you want readers to know?
Well, the most important thing is this is not a fix yourself book. It's a
Mm,
remember who you are book.
yeah,
You know, I think there is so much noise, do this for 3, eat this for 5, walk
yeah,
this many steps. We're so busy trying to do that whatever happened to just being, whatever happened just to being. And so what I've done is I've written very short stories that is all about my creative journey with the lessons I learned, the
mm,
insights, and then practices woven through into 4 pillars. So there's 4 pillars into trusting yourself. And the first is to trust. And how do you do that? And I call it stepping into the fitting room. And that's your presence. And how can you learn to be quiet and to be still in your own space? Because it's really not about what it's what you choose that fits you, but it's more about coming home to yourself because you
mm,
already know what fits you.
mm,
We're so into comparison and judgment. And then the second pillar is the awareness, which is the mirror.
yeah,
Are you seeing yourself clearly? 95% of us think that we see everything very clearly, but only a tiny, less than 5 to 10% really do. And I talk a lot about mentorship, which is what you do so well. I love your platform and what you stand for, because without mentorship, how can you really see yourself clearly? We need mentors that we can trust, that we respect, that encourage us, that want to spend the time,
mm,
and that make us accountable.
yeah,
Where that way, when they say things to us, we listen. We may not like what they want to, what they're saying, but we listen because we trust them. So mentorship, coaches, it doesn't even, it could be your aunt. It's just somebody you really respect and trust. And that is somebody that helps you see clearly when you can't look in the mirror and see yourself well.
Yeah.
It's really critical. And the third pillar, which is curiosity, is the best friend to creativity. And
Mm,
curiosity says, hey, what if we do this? What will happen? It's playful. It's willing to be embarrassed and willing to learn and have the humility and the open-mindedness. And curiosity is the best friend of creativity. That's how creativity starts.
mm,
And because we're living in this singular algorithm of fear, which says, I don't want to learn anything more. I've learned enough. Thank you very much. That fear. And then control steps in and control says, don't you dare do that. We're going to get canceled. We're not going to make it, which stops so many women, children, people from doing anything for that
mm,
fear of being canceled, for not measuring up to some imaginary standard that they've seen on Instagram. And curiosity says, what if? What if you do this? So it really begs us to be courageous, to express
mm.
ourselves. And then the last is letting go. And letting go is the big reveal. It's the path to freedom. It says, what if I let go of everything I think I know for a new experience? Because until you really let go, you're not going to be able to live in the uncertainty that your true self demands. It's
Mm,
asking you. So it's not the resistance, and you hear this a lot. It's the alignment of listening to that voice, and that's where our freedom comes from that we all want. And that's the big reveal, the risk of being seen.
mm,
And that's what's so scary. And yet that's where all the freedom and the love and the bliss and the true joy lives, is in the letting go. And the more uncertainty and the more willingness that we have to let go, the more peace, the more risk we take, the more connection we have. It's like everything.
mm.
So those are the four pillars. And it goes like this, right? Like you were sharing before, like all the different chapters are like this, and it never ends.
Doesn't. And that's
Never ends.
beautiful, isn't it? That's beautiful. But it just means that we have to, have those role models and see it with others before we can believe it for ourselves, because it's just easier to see what you can be and then to step into it. Sally, I'm
Exactly.
wondering, you had a long career as a fashion designer. So talk to us a little bit about your lessons learned. And you've dressed so many incredible people. What what are all the things that you sort of take out of that and
Mm.
now use in all of your work, in your book, in your creative projects, in your speaking, in your, in all of the pursuits?
Well, fashion is a wonderful tool to express yourself.
Mm,
And when you're not feeling confident, fashion is a great way to help you feel more confident.
yeah.
And at the same time, what I've always taught, and this goes for any celebrity or anybody, is that nobody shows up to anything 100% confident. I think that's the big lie. It's like we
Mm,
walk in with all of this, and fashion is that great armor, right? Because you can be wearing, if you wear that confident outfit that makes you feel so great, it is scientifically proven that you will be and act more confidently. There's been this great social experiment that a psychologist put his class, six of them, into white lab coats. And he said they were lab coats, doctor's
mm,
lab coats. And he put six others in, he said, same coats. He said, these are artist smocks. And then six others, not in any coats. And he put them all together and he said, okay, we're going to take a test. Who do you think did the best? It's the people that thought they were wearing doctor's coats. They thought they were more, they felt that they were smarter and more
Mm,
deserving and felt more confident. So there's this thing about fashion, it's called enclothed cognition, which I love. And color, we all know, has significance and the meaning we put to it. But it always comes down to the meaning. And the one thing I will share about this more than anything is that to wear fashion and to be confident is to be present in your body,
mm,
is to be present.
yeah.
And that is the one thing I teach. I have a song about it. When I do photo shoots, it's the first thing we talk about is how do you get into your body
Yeah.
and just stay there? And how do you walk into the world with like your chin straight and your shoulders back and down and your chest straight so that you're meeting the world where it is,
Mm.
not arrogantly like this and not less than with your chin down, but just very straight on. It's very significant and very important. It's a big part of fashion.
So, what advice do you have for young women, Sally, who navigate these pressures and social media and everything around identity and who are often not in their body, right? Because they don't even like their body because they compare themselves to everybody else.
What I've learned, the most important thing you can do is to play, is to play, is to put down your phone and do something playful. You know, I grew up in the summers at camp where nobody had a scale,
Mm,
nobody weighed, there was no phones. You just played, you competed, you learned socially how to be in the world. And the more I've researched about self-esteem, the more research shows that play, returning to play, is the most important thing. Because number one, you stop thinking about yourself, right? Number two, you're usually with others doing something.
mm,
And number three, you're in service. I say this all the time. When you're in service to others, when you're playing, whether it's a game or you're listening to music, what, creating anything, you automatically are building your resilience and your self-esteem, period.
yeah, great
I
advice.
share I share a great story in the book about how I was in college. I was a freshman. I gained the freshman 15. So nothing fit. Like nothing fit. And I went to the thrift store and I bought like these men's oversized jeans and these men's vertical striped shirts because if you wear the stripe going up and down, you're supposed to look thinner. And we had this big kite project where we had to make our own kites and we had to go to the beach and we had to fly them and we were getting graded and judged. It was the final project and I was one of the only ones not in a bathing suit. I was so down on myself. And my kite didn't fly and it drudged through. It was such a disaster. And 2 weeks later, I found myself on the bus going to summer camp to be a counselor. And the minute I walked out of the bus and walked in, I was embarrassing myself on purpose. I had made like this tinfoil sauna suit. I was teaching dance and roller skating. And it was just such an amazing understanding of how 1 minute you can feel like you're never going to make it. And then the moment you decide to like play and do something outside, something different, you remember who you are.
Mm, nice. Yeah, so true. Sally, and that's true for all of our phases, isn't it? Because I often, and I feel it myself, you get sort of, close to mid 50s now. And I
Yeah.
just think in my head, I look, I feel like I have when I was much younger. But, the world mirrors back to me that that's just not the case. So can I still pull off, my long hair and my jeans jacket and all of the things? So, it's true
Yeah.
for all the phases, isn't it? As in just get out of our heads, get out to play, be creative, play with the different things. Does the
Mhm.
jeans jacket still feel nice? Or do I now feel like, no, maybe I'm gonna, buy, get a proper blazer or I don't know. What do you think?
I always think that you know. Like I always think you have to trust yourself when you put it on. How does it make you feel? Like when
Mm,
you look in the mirror and you see yourself who you really are, does that jean jacket give you joy?
yeah,
And if the answer is yes, I've had my jean jacket forever. I even have
forever.
pins on it now. And those are the signature jackets. I always say that a jacket is your signature because it's what you wear the
Mm,
longest. It's what you hold on in your closet the
yeah,
longest is a jacket.
yeah.
And it says so much. And you have beautiful hair, by the way. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
So
I
I'm
get
all
told
about,
all the time that it's time to cut them,
no,
much shorter. And I think this is the end, then I feel like 70. Let me do it a little later.
you don't have to do anything. That's what's so beautiful about evolving, especially at this age, is where and we say this a lot about like if we have children, our children are grown, we've gone through this whole career and trying to do it all, and now it's
Mm,
us. And what does that mean? Do we get to return to our like 14-year-old selves, our 16-year-old selves, and reclaim joy that maybe we didn't have? And I
mm,
say, hell yeah,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So how do you approach your creative work, Sally? How does it work? If someone's listening, you've been collaborating with lots of different brands and you keep doing that. How do you approach that kind of work?
Well, I think it's a muscle. I think creativity is a
Mm,
practice.
mm,
And it really is a practice of losing yourself. Because if your whole self is involved, your ego is right here telling you what to do. And if you're practicing creativity, what you're practicing getting lost and
mm,
allowing it to come through you. And the more you do that, just like as a fashion designer for 30 years, it's been about how can I design on a deadline?
mm,
I'm designing on a deadline. I have to be better than my last collection. It's art for commerce. It's different than just, a painting that I never have to sell. And so there is that muscle of creativity and I go back to curiosity because if you can just remain curious and open,
mm,
and willingness is that key that keeps it open, then creativity will always flow. It's always flowing. We just like somehow switch the flip. And all we have to do is bring an amazing mentor like yourself who's got an amazing platform to remind other people, to remind us we're here. We're not here to tell you how to do it. We're just reminding you right over there is your switch. Just turn it
mm,
back on,
mm.
right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Ultimately, isn't that it?
Yeah, so well said. Sally, so I always think failure is hard, okay? It's hard for anybody, but I feel like in the creative field, it's even harder because, as you said, it's really something that sort of, comes. It's this very creative way of using intuition to, and of course, all the sort of learnings, and you combine them and outcomes this beautiful thing. And sometimes it doesn't work. What does
Right.
what does that look like?
Oh, it doesn't work a lot of the time. Let's not fool ourselves. Um, I thought I was done with the book in 2022, and
Mm,
it was, 4 years ago, and I was like all ready, and there was something inside of me that said it wasn't ready, and I went into like a dark spiral of
mm,
why did I write this book? Who am I without the fashion brand? Why did I ever do this? Was this really a sign, or is this a total hallucination? And I'm never going to recover from this. And most of us think like I'm going to be broke. I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be dead. We go straight down. No, it's pretty
yes.
extreme, right? In that
Yeah.
darkness. And I'm going to put a plug in for mentorship again. For me, it was about going to a party that I didn't want to go to, and I
Mm,
went a little late, and I promised myself I would only stay 15 minutes because I was in such a dark, spiraling, uncreative space. I put my book down for a long time, and I met a woman who was lit up. She was just, And I said, "Can I have your number and can we go out for coffee?"
Mm.
And she spent a year with me journaling, doing work, doing exercises, helping me release, relax, and release. Because a lot of times we're holding on to the branches where the
Yeah.
boat wants to go, and we're just
Mm.
doing this.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Put your oars in the boat,
Mm.
turn the boat around,
Yeah.
stop swimming, all of those analogies." And that was the beginning of the process, but it is a little bit of work every day.
Mm.
It's action. Like you can't think yourself
Yes.
into a good mood. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I think you have to take little small actions, even if it's walking outside, making a call to somebody else. Like stop thinking about yourself so much. That's all we do is think about ourselves. I'm
Yeah.
guilty
Oh,
of that.
totally.
It's
No
like, what about
worse.
me? Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think mentors at any given moment, I think it's important to mentor. I've mentored for over 35 years. I've mentored, and I've also always have mentors.
Yeah.
And I'm always suspicious of people that mentor that aren't always learning.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It needs to be a two-way thing, the mentoring, at all
Mhm,
times. Yeah.
mhm.
So, Sally, what does success look like for you now?
I think my biggest goal is to keep my heart open and have it open even wider and wider,
Mm.
and to share the love that I've grown and aligned with, that some people call it God, divine love, the universe, source, spirit, lots of names. I think I've always been a seeker as a creative. I think we all are.
Yeah.
And I think success is to be able to be with that more and to realize who I am. And, I talk about this in the book about how we'll say, "I'm so lost, we're so lost." And I always return to that knowing that we're not lost. We just stop trusting ourselves,
Mm.
that higher self. And we just have to get quiet enough to really listen and be still. And that's really success to me is, am I am I growing my relationship with that, my God of my understanding? Am I growing my relationships with others?
Mm.
How are my relationships with everyone? Family, friends, strangers? Am I smiling? Am I serving? And third thing is, am I using my unique talent?
Yes.
Am I using that unique talent for myself and for others?
Yeah. It's not holy to play small. Mm. Yes.
No, and success is different for everyone. And there's a lot of books out right now, a lot of money talk, right? Everything's about
Yes.
money, 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 money. And money is important. Money buys you freedom of time. I have such respect for money.
And for
I
women
think
to talk about money, but it's not everything.
it's not. I think that when my most recent understanding of success is, do I have enough? And when I say to myself, I do, I have enough. I have shelter, I have food, I have clothes, I have, all of those necessities that are really important.
Mm.
Do I have those? That's success. True success underneath all of that is, am I growing? Am I evolving? Am I learning the lessons that are very hard sometimes,
Mm.
as we all know? And sometimes with being a mom, it's about allowing um, family members and everyone to have their own experience.
Yes. Let their journeys unfold. It's the hardest thing. Yeah. And to hold the vision, and they until they can see the vision. show us your book. We want everyone to
Oh,
pre-order your book, Trust.
ta-da!
Beautiful. It's coming out on May 8th. People pre-order, buy it for your daughters, your mothers,
It's,
your
yeah.
sisters. And Sally, talk to us a little bit about your life, those pivotal points that led you to where you are today.
Pivotal points. Um,
The defining moments.
well, I mean, defining moments are like looking back and realizing that intuition or the voice was always there.
Mm,
And so there are certain points in my life that I share about in the book from when I was young, first discovering my talent
mm,
and having others supported and having Cher was a big role model for me growing up.
yeah.
The Sonny and Cher show was nobody talked when it was on in my house. I was very young and I was enamored with Cher's boldness and just her glamour and funny. She was funny. She's very
Yeah.
funny
So
too.
funny. Yeah.
Still is. I think that she was
Mm,
unapologetically herself.
yeah.
And there was something about that that was very attractive to me.
Yes.
And I think that also I had saved up all my money. I was very entrepreneurial, very young, and very stubborn, and always championed the underdog. And one day, my mom came into my bedroom with a fashion magazine, which was not the norm because she was a social worker and educator, was not into fashion at all. And she had bought a fashion magazine screaming at me that I had something because I had saved up all my money for this purple, it was boys, it was a men's purple turtleneck when I was 13 years old, and a pair of ivory Western boots. Like I wanted those so much. And they were on the cover of the magazine. And she said to me, almost like, you have a gift. You have a gift. And I was like, I do. I have a gift. So that was that first spark where
Mm,
someone outside of myself was recognizing something in me that I had no idea.
yeah.
So that those are critical moments that we can look for and find,
Mm,
um, and change and evolve,
yeah.
and it would go on. It's
Yeah.
all in the book.
Exactly. Everyone's got to get the book. Sally, you've worked with, so many people. What would you say are these human lessons that you cherish? You know, you've you've worked with s-
I would
so
say
many notable
collaboration.
people. Okay.
I would say collaboration is, I'm a big believer that one plus one equals three. I've
Yeah.
never had it any other way. That
Yeah.
when you're really, creating or with people, that you listen, like you really listen.
Mm,
And when everyone's listening to each other, there's something that happens that becomes bigger than themselves. It's a very collaborative process, creating or being with people, dressing them. Like I can look at someone and I know you can, we all have that understanding that when you look at someone when they're getting dressed, you know if they feel good in it or not. You know before they know. You can see it and feel it. Um, that's why you have to keep wearing your jean jacket because you probably know you feel and love it so much that you can't.
totally. Absolutely.
Why would you ever give that away?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that collaboration is really
Mm,
important.
yeah.
Listening.
Yeah. Sally, so give us your plans and goals. What is this book release going to look like?
Well, I'm working on a business plan actually as we speak and finishing a new talk and looking at, I'm doing workshops right now. I
Mhm.
have two workshops that I facilitate. One is called Signature Style,
Yeah.
which I'm doing it again here in May uh, 16th. And that has been really fun where people bring in 3 items of clothing and we do a whole clothing swap. and we talk about what does it mean to let go? Like, what are you letting go of? What are you making room for? What's new? So
Mm.
I go through the pillars, and I also do designing a life that fits, where we actually really do go through the four pillars, and I have exercises. And that's really great because so many of us are in transition. We're reclaiming our trust. We're remembering who we are, and we're reinventing. I don't know if it's so much reinventing or we're reclaiming.
Mm. And a bit of both. Mm.
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
What about
Sally,
expanding,
and
Maybe just
expanding.
to
Yeah, it's always a
it just
growth. I mean,
I think it's
that's
always
sure.
that growth.
Yeah. Sally, so what takeaways would you like our listeners to have from your story if you had to sum it up?
I think that this whole life journey is about remembering who you are
Yeah.
rather than thinking that you're so broken that you need to be fixed, like you're not a problem to be solved. You know, it really is about removing and releasing everything that you think you are so you can realize how magnificent and creative and loving and joyous you are.
What a beautiful way to finish, Sally. Beautiful and wise conversation. So thank you so much for being so
Oh, thank
great. I
you.
cannot wait to read the book. Everyone, please go trust
Oh,
yourself
thank you.
anyway, designing a life that fits. Go and pre-order and look up Sally Miller and do any of her courses. And thank you so much for leading by example on WeCan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.